Okay, now I'm going to start talking about some of the different markup tools we have and different ways to use the markup tools. First thing I'm going to do is talk about dimensions. One of the best features about Bluebeam itself, as opposed to other similar types of software, is Bluebeam allows us to pull dimensions and scale drawings, just like you'd be able to with a ruler or a tape measure on a paper drawing. We can do that in Bluebeam. And most other similar types of software cannot do that, which is one of the big advantages of Bluebeam. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little side panel here to the right. Sometimes when you open it up, it has this, what's called file access. This is where it'll list a lot of the more recent files you've used. If you see the little orange arrow, if I tap that down, it changes it. We already looked at a minute ago the bookmarks, if you're in like the progress set, the full set, or if you're in a submittal. This one all the way to the right kind of looks like a little white line. It's a little ruler with some markups. That's your dimension tab. On here, it will find all the information about dimensions. Just like when you're taking your scaling measurements off of a paper drawing, the most important thing to do first is to check your scale and to make sure your scale is set properly for the drawing. You know, I'm sure you guys have all noticed on drawings where they have their scale. It's different on every drawing. Usually it's somewhere near the bottom, sometimes either the bottom left or sometimes on the bottom right in the, the information about the drawing. It really depends on the drawing. You have to find it on there. But the first thing I want to look at is my dimensions. I can see on this drawing it says it's 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. If I look over here where my scale is, you can see it's set at 3/8 inch. So if I start right now trying to take dimensions off of there, all of them are going to be wrong because my scale's set wrong. It's really important, especially if it's the first time you've opened the drawing and started working on it, to check your scale. Because I've done it, I'm sure everyone who's taken dimensions off of a drawing, and even if you've done it off of a paper drawing, you probably at some point measured using the wrong scale, and then all your measurements get wrong. Check your scale before you start measuring, and you won't run into any problems. So I go in here to where it says 3/8, change it to 1/8. 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. It's the same. I'm ready to go. Now, if this is a drawing that, like, say you've saved to your field folder and you're getting ready to edit, we've got this little toggle right here where it says store scale in page. If I hit that and I save the file, now every time I open this file, it's going to automatically set the scale to 1/8 inch. It's saved it in there. It knows what it is. We can't do that with the progress set if it's not automatically saved on there because we don't have access to edit the progress set. But if you keep going in and noticing that the progress set's off, that's something we can talk to the project manager about. Hey, can you go through and make sure that that's set at 1/8 inch or whatever the drawings are? Different drawings might vary depending on what they're looking at, but it's something we can have them adjust if we notice it's a problem for us. But on drawings that we're marking up, like this one I just saved, we just looked at how to save it, we can always go in and set the dimension how we want, set the scale. So now we'll look at actually how to measure stuff. So we've got up here at the top, we've got a few different measuring tools. I'm going to go over 3 of them that are really useful. I'll touch base on the other 2 or the other 3 of them. I honestly have never used 2 of them ever, but 3 of them I use a lot and are very useful. First one right here is just a straight line measurement. Say I'm trying to get a measurement between this wall right here and this receptacle. I want to find out how far off the wall that receptacle is supposed to go. I tap my tool to open it, tap on the wall for the first one, tap on the receptacle, and it just gives me a measurement right there. A couple of things to notice about the measurement when I first open it. Now say when I first did this, when I first put it on, I tapped and it was kind of close to the wall, and I tapped and it was kind of close to the receptacle, but it's not on the wall, it's not on the center of the receptacle. It's really not a close enough measurement for me to do a whole lot with me, and I want to adjust it. If I go and tap on the measurement and then I see there's a few little yellow dots, those yellow dots are handles you can grab to move it around with. So if I grab this yellow handle and start moving, first thing you notice is this little magnifying box opens up. And that gives me a little crosshairs. It makes it a lot easier if I want to go right on the edge of the wall to find exactly where I want. Same thing on the other side. I can go straight to the center of the receptacle and get a measurement off of it. So it makes it a lot easier for you to try to get real precise with it, as opposed to if you're just tapping and I messed up on it, delete the measurement, go in and tap it again. You can adjust it pretty easily. The other yellow handle we've got here will just allow me to move the measurement away. See how it's kind of cluttered up with all the words behind it? If I wanted to move it over so that it's away from the words, you can do that. One thing I would say with taking the dimensions, and this holds true whether you're taking dimensions in your iPad or you're pulling a scale off of the drawings, if it's something that has to be really precise, like say a receptacle in a pantry that they say wants to be centered up over the door of the pantry, or over the crack between two doors or something, I would never use a dimension off of a drawing for that. You're going to want to find a drawing that already has dimensions on it that's measured out. The receptacle, when the people making the drawings put it on there, they're not always measuring it out and making sure that the spot on the drawing is precisely where they need it on there. If it's an area that, it doesn't matter that much, if it's really precise within like 1/8 of an inch or something, you can probably pull dimensions to get a general idea of it. Or if you want to know, if you're pulling dimensions to get a rough estimate of how much pipe I need to run or how much cable I need to pull or something like that, by all means, use the dimensions on here for it. If you're trying to get a really, really precise location of something that has to be dead on where it's supposed to go, you want to have the architects or engineers provide that dimension for us, or the general contractor at the very least. The next markup, or the next measurement tool I'm going to go into is a multi-line. So say I got my electric room here. I've got these DFPB boxes. I can see 1, 2, 3 of them that are all in the same circuit. Say these A's also. Say I got to run conduit from my electric room, come out, hit this B, hit this A, hit this B, B, and A, and I want to take a measurement for how much conduit I need for all of that. I've got this third tool over. It kind of looks like a funky shaped box that's colored in white. That is my multi-point dimension tool. What I can do is I can go select the tool, pick where I want to start, go out, for my first point, then go to my second point. I can take it to a third point, fourth point, however many points I want to take it. And it's keeping a running measurement. And then when I finish, double tap it, and it gives me a measurement of the whole thing, 139 feet of that whole length. That way I don't have to take the single line measurement and measure the one direction, and then measure the second and add them up, and then measure the third and add it up. And this will do the whole thing for me, all of it. And you see I got it off a little bit. That last one isn't a straight line coming off the side from it. I can always take it. Again, it's got the little blow up on it, and adjust it to where I actually want it to be able to change it. I can take one of the points in the middle and adjust it as I need to as well. You can, any of the little handle points you can grab and move around. I use this tool a lot when I'm measuring out for how much conduit I need, how long a cable I need, stuff, anything like that. Anything where you got to measure, it's got a turn in it at some point. The multi-dimension or multi-point dimensioning tool works really great. The third measuring tool I wanted to point out is this one. Just looks like 1, 2, 3, just the counting tool. This is really great if you're doing, you say you got to install, you're doing an order for all these receptacles on this floor here. You want to do a count of how many receptacles you need. Instead of going through and like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then someone comes in and starts talking to you, and the foreman calls you to do something, and you go back, what number was I at? Did I count this one? How many did I need? This counting tool will do it for you. You just select the tool, then just tap on each one. You can see it's getting a little red check mark on them, and it's keeping a running count. Now when I'm done counting, I can pull up at the bottom this handle here. It's going to show me every single markup I've got on that drawing. Right now I only have the count measurement. If I swipe over, I can see 8 counts. So, 8's probably not a big number that you need to count, but say you're counting up how many hi-hats you're doing on an entire floor, or how many receptacles throughout the entire floor, or something like that. The count might get pretty big, and you might not want to try to remember all of those, how many fire alarm devices you're putting in, that kind of thing. It's very easy to try to help you with counting up material and stuff like that. Anybody have any questions on the markup, on the dimensioning tools, or how to pull dimensions? Anything like that? Okay, I am going to now get into the actual markups. How to do various different markups. So I've got this symbol up here. Kind of looks like a shape and a pen and a letter A. That's my Markup Tools toolbar. I tap that. You can see it pops up on the right with all the different tools. You can see there's a whole bunch of them. Actually, if you swipe down to the bottom, it even has the measurement tools, the dimensioning tools we looked at. I always like to go through the dimensioning tools over here, even though we've got the same ones here, because this reminds me to look at the scale when I open it up. If I just pull up my measurements here, and I can use them just the same as I would on the other one, but it doesn't give me that reminder of, hey, check your scale, make sure that you got your scale set properly. So that's why I always like to go through the other way. I'm not going to go over every single one of these tools, but I'm going to go over some of the more frequently used ones and some of the more useful ones and talk about how the settings on them work. And then as you guys want, you can explore the other ones when you're using it. First one that I'm going to go over is this very first one. It's a text box tool. It's this letter A that's all the way at the top. You tap on the tool, select where you want to put some text on the drawing, and it'll create a box, and you can type whatever you want, and it creates a box with the text in it. You can see mine right now is kind of some funky settings on it. It's a very bright teal. It's got a weird outline around it, big letters. If you want to adjust the settings on it, while I've got my tool selected, you can see on my toolbar down here at the bottom right, this little gear symbol. I tap on that, and you can see it changes the whole toolbar. Now, these are the settings for the tool itself and the different features of it, and there's a whole bunch of different ones. First one is the background fill. So you can see right now it's see-through. I can see what's behind my text box. If I didn't want to, I can choose that. I can change the color of the background, anything I want. Even if I just want to make it white but not see-through, I can do that. Next one is going to be the actual outline of it. You can see that'll change the color of the text. So I can set all three of those to be a completely different color if I want. Then I'm getting down into, so now say I want to have the background a different color, but I still want to see what's going on behind it. This next one here is going to be my, how see-through the background is, the opacity tool. And you can see as I scroll on it, you can still kind of see that hint of green in the background, but it's also see-through. So that might be, a lot of times where I see guys end up using this is if like you're making home run pull drawings and you want to have each panel be color-coded to a different color, and then maybe even within that, each circuit be color-coded, or maybe each piece of cable be color-coded as to the circuits that are in it. You can set the background to be red, so all of your low-voltage panels, everything coming out of it's red, and then each cable, the text for this one's black, the text for this one's blue, the text for this one's green. So you can easily see and make it, some differences between it. I can change the width of the line, or how see-through the line around it is. I can change the width of the line around it. Instead of a dotted line, I can make it a solid line. All kinds of different options there. And then getting down here, I have the actual options for the text itself. You can see I'm at 48 as my text size. I can make it really small. I can go up a lot bigger. Make it bold, italics, all kinds of stuff. One of them that's pretty useful is this guy. Kind of looks like two little letter A's. What this does is actually changes the size of the text based on the size of the box. So they make the top box smaller, it adjusts the text so that it fills the box every time. Just something useful so you don't, if you find you keep going through changing the box and changing the text and changing the box and changing the text, this will help set it. Now one cool thing about this, now say I've got my text box, I want to write something in it, and I want to make it so that the background is yellow, I want the text to be red, I don't want anything along I don't want an outside line around the edge. And I've got it there. Now I've got that saved and got the settings I want on it. And now I want to go make another text box. And when I go to make that one, the settings are still the same as the first one I made. Now say I wanted to make a bunch of text boxes that were all the same settings as this one. All I have to do is set it to where I want, and then if I select the tool and then tap and hold on it, you see a whole set of options come up. One of them is set as default. If I tap set as default, now every time I go to the text box tool, it's going to come up with the same settings as what I just done. So that's really useful, like I was talking about before. If you're doing a lot of different, you're marking up circuits from the same panel, and you want all the ones from the same panel to be in the same text color, the same background, just set it the first time, set it as your default, and then every time you pull up that text tool, it's going to have those same settings on it. This can be done with any of the tools and any of the settings that I go over. All of them, you can just select and set, change the settings, change it, and then set it as your default, and it will give you, you'll be able to use those settings. Next one I'm going to get into is the pen tool that's right below the text box. This one is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a pen. Tap it, allows you to write however you want. Change the color, can change the size of it. I gotta select it before I'll change it. You know, it's pretty self-explanatory. Again, you can tap and hold, set the default on it if you want to have it permanently different color, anything like that. I honestly find I don't use the pen tool that often. It's just there's other tools that I'll get into in a second that I find more useful, but you know, everyone's going to use it differently. However, if you find that the pen tool is the best one for you. The one spot I do use it for a lot, actually, though, is highlighting. There is a highlighter tool on here. It's this one that's like a yellow kind of pen looking thing. What this will do, though, is it will recognize text on the drawing. And say I'm trying to highlight this word drinking fountain. I select it, I go and I select. You can see it's selecting just the text. And when I let go, it selects drinking fountain. The problem with this, though, is because it's selecting just text, if I go and select drinking fountain and I move my finger down a little bit, you can see it selected a whole bunch of text all over the place. It jumps all over. Can get really frustrating sometimes, like, oh, I just need one more letter, and then all of a sudden everything gets selected. And you gotta delete the tool and start over. I find the pen tool works a little bit better for this. If I go to my settings, change it to make it a little bit see-through, make it yellow, maybe make it a little bit thicker. I can highlight with it just going over what my finger goes over. Doesn't quite make it exactly fit around the text like the highlighter would, but if I slip down a little bit, it's not gonna select everything and you know, make it frustrating for you. That's what I mostly use the pen tool for, is highlighting, just to avoid that frustration with it selecting a bunch of text you don't want to. And again, you know, if I want to highlight in a bunch of different colors, I can set it to different colors. You can always go back through later, change the thickness. If it's not quite bright enough, you know, if it's too see-through, make it less see-through, or if it's not see-through enough, go the other way with it. Again, it's got all the same kind of features you can adjust with all kinds of other stuff. Going into the tools, some other pretty frequent ones that I'll use. This one that's like a box with an arrow coming off it. It's called a call-out tool. Say I want to put some information about this junction right here. I want to write some text on it. Maybe we installed it, but it needs some work on it. It needs somebody to come back, doesn't have a ground screw, needs somebody to splice it. We're not sure what the circuit is, whatever. If I were to try to type with a text box right over there's a lot of other information there. It's going to get very cluttered. You're not going to be able to see that other information. But somewhere like right here, there's no information to get cluttered. So I can use this call out. I tap where I want the one end to be and drag it, and what it'll do is it'll create a text box with an arrow pointing down at something. Again, it's got all the same kind of features that you can and settings you can adjust, like we looked at with the text box tool. Put a border around it, change the size, change how see-through it is, all that kind of stuff. But it just allows you to have an arrow that's going down, look at something else. Similarly, there is this cloud call-out tool, which when I select it, I first want to choose the area it's clouded around, but now instead of having an arrow pointing at it with the text box, it clouds a whole area and allows you to have a text box pointing at that. If you just want to cloud something, you got your cloud tool. It's basically just a rectangle, but instead of straight lines on the edge, it's clouds. And you've got settings to be able to change that. If we take a look at the settings, I can change the clouding so that it's bigger cloud, smaller cloud, all kinds of stuff like that. Another tool that is very useful that we use a lot. This is something that I'll use a lot when I'm making like lighting jumper drawings, or if I'm making a wall rough and prefab plan and I want to show jumping between various receptacles. I've got right here, kind of looks like a curly Q. It's a multi-point line tool. What it'll allow me to do, kind of similar to the multi-point dimension tool, it'll allow me to make a line with multiple points on it, and then so I can jump around. Now one thing I find really convenient with this, I'm going to change a couple of the settings, make it a little bit thinner. I'm going to turn it red. Say I want to show a cable jumping from this receptacle to that receptacle. I can make a little jump like that. It kind of looks like a V. It's a little weird on it. A lot of times we like it to be an arc that looks a little bit nicer. That's usually how they'll show them on drawings. If I make my tool jump between them, and I tap and hold on the line and click convert to arc, and do it on the other half, convert to arc, it'll set it as an arc and make it It'll still have the same points. I can adjust and move it around, and it actually gives us some new points. So I can, pull the side of it up really far. If I want to, say it's up here and I want to make it a little bit flattened off, it's got a lot of different features on how, if I want to alter the shape of it, a lot of different features on how to adjust the arc. I find this is actually one of the tools that people ask me about a lot of how to be able to make those kinds of arcs with it. That's the multi-point.
What are folks normally using that for, Will? Just for circuiting stuff?
Yeah, a lot of times it'll be like showing circuiting jumps. If I want to show something jumping between these two and I show just a straight line, it might be, it's not quite as obvious. It's a little bit small. It's not showing it. If you want to have it a little bit bigger just to show, hey, jump between, or maybe I'm jumping over one receptacle and jumping to the next. It makes it easy. It doesn't have a sharp point in it when I convert it to an arc. So if you got a lot of, another thing is if I got a lot of jumpers jumping around here, sometimes if it's going at a right angle, I don't know if that right angle is where two lines are crossing or if one line's turning. But if I convert it to an arc, it's easier to see where stuff like that's jumping to.
Half the time I'd use the pen.
Yeah,
Use your finger or something that looks like, it's really sloppy.
Jump something like that, and then I messed up and it's something like that.
It's too hard to draw that arc straight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's too, I'd have that sucker
Yeah.
looking like a trapezoid.
Yep, that multi-point dimension. And like, say I even had, I want to jump to that one, and then I want to jump down to this one. I can set each section as an arc.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep, that is.
Move it around how I need to, make it how it look however you want.
Hey, Will, can you just text me or hey when you're getting
Yep.
close to wrapping up? Thank you. Very good.
So the last one that's just a straight markup tool I wanted to look at is, or I guess there's two more that I wanted to look at real quick. One is just the line tool, very similar to the multi-point line tool, but it's just 2 points. Point one, tap where you want to start, tap where you want to end, just a straight line. Can't put any extra points on it, but if for whatever reason you want just a straight line, you can do that. There's a straight line with an arrow right above it, and you can actually go in and change what that arrow at the end of it looks like. So it's, if I want to have an open arrow, or if I wanted to have backwards triangle, and I can put one on the other side also if I needed. And then there's the dimension line tool. This is kind of looks like a dimension like we were talking before where you can measure stuff, but it allows you to set whatever text you want in it. So this is one that's useful if say I've got an RFI that tells me I need to have these two receptacles 2 feet apart, and I want to note that on the drawing. I can use this tool, go in there, put 2 foot, and I don't know if that's to scale. I don't know what the scale would tell me on that, but this is me putting it on there. Another time is like if I'm making prefab drawings and the drawing itself isn't to scale, but I want to indicate to the warehouse how many inches apart to put something or something like that. You can always put it on there and just set whatever dimension inside or whatever text you want in the middle. And it doesn't even have to be numbers. I mean, you can write something in there if you want, anything like that. Solomon, you got a question? Oh, sorry. So now I'm going to go into a few of the other markup tools that are maybe not something that you wouldn't be able to do on a paper drawing also. The first one I'm going to get into is this camera tool. So if I look at it, it looks like, it just looks like a little box with a blue circle in it, kind of looks like a camera lens. If I tap on that, it's going to open up the camera itself. I've got my iPad turned upside down, but if I flip the camera around, you can see I can take a picture, tap use photo or retake if it's weird, and it puts the picture right on the drawing itself. So this would be useful if, say you've roughed in you've roughed in all your walls and everything, and you find that the drywall guy keeps going back through, and when he's covering up walls or something, you want to be able to prove I actually got this roughing in. You can take a picture of it, put it right on the drawing, and it's right there for you to be able to look at later. Another time I've used this is if we're doing like punch list, and they want you to take a picture when the punch list is correct. So this light fixture's got a smudge on it. We want to make sure that the smudge got cleaned off. Clean it off, snap a picture of it, put it right on the drawing. You're good to go. There's one other camera tool that's also kind of similar. If I scroll down to this one right here, that actually looks like a picture. and I tap on that one, what's gonna pop up, it's gonna say file attachment or annotation. If I do file attachment, again, it's gonna pop up the same thing, it's gonna allow me to take a picture of the camera. If I hit use photo, what happens now though when I put it on the drawing is it just shows a little picture of a camera. If I double tap on it, it's gonna pull up the picture. If I tap away, it'll go away. What this is useful for is like, say you gotta take a lot of pictures, but you don't want them covering up the whole drawing. You know, you still wanna be able to see what's behind it. I can put a whole bunch of these all over, and then just each time I double click it, it'll pop up and allow me to see
You
it.
had 10 pictures on there, and you double click on that, would bring all 10.
It's only, so each time I do this, it's going to do a different icon. So now I got two different icons. If I double tap the first one, it pulls up the first picture. If I double tap the second one, it'll pull up the second picture. So each icon is its own picture.
Okay.
Again, that's really useful if you got to put pictures on there, but you don't want to clutter up the drawing with it, only be able to reference them occasionally. A similar tool to that one that we've got is this guy up here, actually right above the camera tool, kind of looks like a microphone. This allows you to do same thing, but you can actually record audio. So one time that I used this a lot was I was doing a walkthrough on a job where with a security contractor, and they wanted to give us different details on every single door we had to do it on. Instead of like trying to scribble notes out as they were telling us, every single time we came to a door, I pulled this up, recorded. It's gonna ask, the first time you do it, it's gonna ask for permission to use your microphone. Hit yes, it's recording right now. You can see it commenting and then counting down. I hit stop when I'm done and tap on the drawing. It's now got a little boombox icon. If I double tap on that, it'll bring up a thing to allow me to play that audio back. So what I did is every door we went to, I just recorded what the guy was saying about the door, put it on the drawing right at that door, went on to the next one, did the same thing. Then when I gave the drawings over to the guy who was actually installing it, he was able to go through, double tap, listen to what the security guy was saying. I didn't have to take notes and then tell him, maybe my notes are too sloppy and I couldn't read what I wrote, or there was a miscommunication, or I didn't write everything down, I don't remember what it is. I got all the information right there. Another good thing, sometimes general contractors will give us verbal information, but will be a little bit loath to write it down and give us things like, put that in right there. I'm the one who's telling you. And then 5 months down the road, when you're doing a punch list and they say, that's not supposed to go there. Why did you put it there? Well, if you record them doing it and you've got the audio and you say, hey, I'm doing what you told me to do, buddy. You've got the record of it. So that can be another one that's pretty useful in that regard. The last specific one of these tools there's two more tools I wanted to bring up. One kind of goes along with what I was just talking about, is the signature tool. It's a third one down. It looks like an X with a guy signing on the line. If I tap that and then tap anywhere on my drawing and drag my finger, you can see it's creating an X with a line, just like you would have a signature. It'll then pop up with a box and you can sign in it and it'll put the signature right on the drawing. I'll use this if I'm doing like tickets, like work tickets, and I need to get the general contractor to sign it. I'll write up the work ticket on my iPad and have him sign it right on here, so I don't have to print off a copy. I've got it all digitally done. You can easily have them. Yes. So it's the third tool down. It looks like an X with somebody signing on the line. You tap on it, tap and drag, it pulls up the box to sign. And again, it's got the tools that are shown right here where I can change the color, change how thick the line is, but you can also go in after it's done and change the settings just like you can with any of the other tools. Does anybody have any questions on any of the tools we went over or the settings for them?
One you used the arch.
Yes.
How you do that one again?
So that's the multi-point line tool. If I go down here where it kind of looks like a curlicue, if you look at on the right side, if I tap on that, tap various spots that you want. When you get to the last spot you want, double tap on it and it'll finish the line. Then each segment of the line you have to individually turn into an arc. So if I tap and hold, convert to arc.
Okay.
Tap and hold the next section, convert to arc. Okay. Tap and hold. And now you can kind of see, this one's a little weird where it goes down then back up like that. Say I wanted to continue the arc going the other direction. It's got these, I can grab the handles and move them around so that I can change the shape of the arc however I want.
Okay. Cool.
I think you missed when you type the box is something people could know. I think it's useful. When you make your box bigger and you hold it and auto box it like as much as your
For the text box?
text box. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if I,
When I make the box bigger and then
yeah,
when
that's a good point.
down,
So on my text box tool, the point Piero's bringing up is if I make the box, I just grab and drag and make it really big. I type whatever I want. Now my box is a lot bigger than the text itself. I want to shrink it up. I don't want to have all that extra space that's being blocked up by it. I can tap and hold on the box and it'll pop up with my options above it. If I just click auto size text box, it'll shrink it down so that it's the smallest it can be while also showing all the words you've got there. Just automatically shrink it a whole bunch. It's a good point, Piero. Anybody else have any question on any of the tools, or have any of the other tools that you notice that you want to look at? Like a lot of these are going to be kind of similar to ones that we've already looked at. We looked at the straight line tool and the arrow line. The circle, it's just going to make you a circle on there. Square, just going to make you a square. The settings on it are going to be the same settings as everything else. There was actually one other tool I wanted to look at real quick. So you can take a section of the drawing. Say for whatever reason I wanted to make a drawing that only had a portion of this. I want to cut out part of this drawing and put it somewhere else. If I go to this tool on the right, it kind of looks like a camera with like a little dotted line around it. And if I tap on that, I can drag around whatever I've got, and it's going to pop up and say, take a snapshot. If I take a snapshot, it's copying now what was inside of that box. Now, if I go and tap and hold and hit paste, it pastes exactly what was in there. So one spot I find this to be pretty common, pretty useful is like, say we get an RFI comes back that says this LCD, this TV screen right here, we actually want two separate receptacles behind it. Wherever you see screen TV, you actually want to have two receptacles behind it. Well, I don't want to rely on being able to communicate that to all my guys to remember that every single time. So I actually want to go and put another receptacle on that drawing right next to it. So what I'll do is I'll find that capture tool, grab just the receptacle itself, take snapshot, paste it, and now I've got a second receptacle I can just set right on the drawing next to there. I'll do something like if a lot of times another spot that's really useful is a lot of time exit lights. They'll put the exit lights on the drawings where they think they want them, and then the inspector will come out and say, add 5 more exit signs because there's spots on the floor he can't see an exit sign, and it's up to the fire marshal to make sure we've got them. And he'll say, put one here, here, and here. Well, we don't have any drawing that shows that. We have to do it because that's what we need to do to pass inspection, and that's what, it has to be put in there. But maybe you can grab an exit from the drawing, capture it, put it on the drawing where the inspector told you to, so now you've got a record and a drawing that shows it, which will be also useful when it comes time for as-builts, and you've got a drawing that actually has those in the spot where you need them. Okay.